Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than Tampa Bay's real producers. And we are powered by Top Producers Nation. You can check us out at topproducersnation.com to learn more about how to become a top producer in your given market through any of our coaching programs, through any of the courses, and the overall community that we provide there as well. So check it out at topproducersnation.com. We get to interview today Miss Lisa Carroll, the Team TLC leader. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing great, Don.
It's good to have you here. Yeah, no doubt. If Lisa looks familiar, we have featured her in the past in an episode, or an issue, I should say, of Tampa Bay Real Producers Magazine. Not only has Lisa been on the cover as a team leader and a top producer here in the Tampa Bay market, I believe off the top of my head, you've been in more than one feature now that I think about it, right?
There was a team feature a couple years ago, I think.
Years ago. So it goes way back with Lisa. We've been doing features for a couple of years now with her, and it's the first time, of course, having you here on the show. So excited to dive into your story a little bit more. And so we'll kind of just start there. A little bit about your background. Did you grow up in Tampa Bay? If not, how you got here, and eventually how you got yourself interested in real estate?
Well, I moved here in 10th grade, so I went to Gaither High School up in Carrollwood and went to USF after that. Got my degree in education, taught special education for just a little bit, got my real estate license at the same time. Okay. So I was in my early 20s and I started real estate then, and I've been doing it now about 31 years.
Very cool.
So that's kind of my backstory.
When you were in the education side, did you think you'd go into the real estate game, or
I really didn't
how'd that transition happen?
No, I didn't think I was a salesperson. Mm-hmm. So I guess when you're a teacher, though, you're kind of up there selling yourself.
For sure.
And really in real estate, that's really what you're selling is yourself. And not, you sell houses, but you're really marketing yourself.
They have to trust you too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, no, I really didn't. My first husband was a realtor. So I started looking at homes with him, and I found it very interesting. Okay. And we did a few flips, and we bought a few homes, and I really enjoyed that. So I kind of just dove in, and once I started, I just loved it.
Now, did you dive in full time and leave the education side right away, or did that happen gradually?
I graduated at the December from USF, so I had the rest of that school year. They hired me at the school I had done my internship at, which was also Gaither High School. So where I graduated from was where I was teaching, and I taught the rest of that school
year. That must have been interesting.
It was cool. Yeah, I knew a lot of the same teachers that were still there because I was still pretty young, at that time. So I taught for the rest of the school year, and I said I'm going to take the summer off. And I started selling full-time in that summer. Okay. By the time a month or two had gone by, I did a couple deals or had them under contract. And, the salary back there then for a teacher was really low. Yeah. It's still not as good as it should be.
They're still underpaid today.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure you found out pretty quickly that you might be able to make more money in real estate.
That was for sure. But I also really enjoyed it. So it was kind of fun to be free and, build my own company and my own business and just get that little inkling of an idea of what was possible. So I never went back to teaching. I did go back when the market crashed, though. So when the market did crash in 2007-ish or 8, I did go back to teach for a little while. We had 2 little kids, and we were kind of struggling because my husband was in mortgages and I was in real estate.
Yeah.
And at the time, it got
tricky
real
business during that time.
Tough. Yeah. So I taught for a little while they were in elementary school, and then came back in full force in about maybe 12 years ago or so.
Okay. Now, the flipping you were mentioning that you were doing, was that just for yourself, like just making some profits, or were you working with investors and helping them find flips?
At that time, it was just for ourselves. Okay. I've done all of the above since then. Yep. But at that time, I was just kind of learning as we went. So we would find something and go, let's move into it, or let's fix it up, and then we would slowly flip. We weren't doing these massive, big, quick flips. Yep. But early in my career, I did get with a group of people. I had an inspector, a lender, myself, another partner, and then a handyman contractor kind of guy, or both. Mm-hmm. And then we did about 5 or 6 flips during, my really early career. So I did a lot of that at the beginning.
Have you always maintained that, or did that stop for a while and has it been kind of random?
Yeah, when the crash happened, a lot of stuff changed in my mindset at that point. I had a big portfolio, so I did have to liquidate some of that because we were struggling at the time, but it was nice to have those assets. Sure. So I really never went back into the whole flip thing, and I don't think I've done one since probably before the market crashed in 2007. I do have a little bit of real estate now that I hold and I rent.
Rentals.
Yeah, but I don't really get into the whole
flip. Those are single-family homes?
I have a short-term vacation rental, up in Georgia, and that's really the one that I have held on to, and it's doing great. It's a cabin up in the mountains.
Cool. Airbnb, VRBO, all that good stuff. Do you guys visit there as well sometimes?
Oh, yeah. It's great to get up there.
Good for the family, I take it.
can't wait. October's coming. So,
this is the season.
The leaves are coming. So I can't wait. I
season.
grew up in Michigan. So, I want to go up there and just see that color. I don't want to see the snow, really. Had enough of that. But so that's basically what I've done with the flipping thing.
So on the real estate side, what strategies worked for you to be able to get some traction in those earlier years? Was it you kind of grew up in this market, so were you diving into just organic network and letting everybody know that you're an agent, and is that where things started developing, or did you do some other things that worked for you?
The thing is, you have to realize this is 30 years ago, so it was a totally different game.
It was a different market.
We didn't have
game.
Social media.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet like we have now. We didn't even have, maps in our car. So
Sure.
it was just different.
Sure.
So we used to run ads in magazines that they would pick up and they would call. And I just built my, my core database and kept working that database. We used to cold call out of the phone book. I mean, it was
Whatever
crazy
it took.
times.
Yeah.
So at the time we did floor time, we'd have people walk into the office, which you rarely see anymore, no matter where your office is. Maybe in vacation rental places, people walk in, like communities like Blue Ridge, downtown Blue Ridge, where my
or like
cabin
downtown
is.
St. Pete still has a lot of that.
People walk in the door,
sure.
but you don't get that anymore. So we had a lot of walk-ins, and you would just establish the relationship with the client, and that's what real estate's all about, is the relationships you have.
For sure.
So I was young, but I did establish a lot of relationships, and it's funny because I'm going through my past business and I lost some of my earlier database after I went back and taught for that time period.
Yep.
I lost some of it, which was a shame, but I tried to track it. Then they changed our MLS right at the time when I came back in. So it was hard for me to track back some of it. But looking back at my sales, like over the last 15 years, you can see the same people, always repeating, referring, buying, selling. A lot of the people are still in their homes 10, 15 years later.
For sure.
The homes are worth, 2 or 3, 4 times as much as what they bought them for. So, I think that's the key back then, was just establishing relationships and building the relationships and, asking for that business.
Do you know what percentage of your business today is referral based or referral heavy?
Yes. So it's a huge percentage because we have a team going on too. So the team brings in their own referrals. So we kind of track it all together, but it's a good 25 to 30% of our business.
Yeah,
at
pretty
least.
big chunk.
Yeah,
for sure. And so at some point in your experience, did you have the intention initially to build a team, or did that just kind of happen because of necessity? Like things were just too busy. You felt like you needed help. What was that evolution like?
When I started by myself, I soon after, in those early days, formed a partnership with another young lady that was my age at the same time, at the same place in her career.
Okay.
And we kind of helped each other. We opened our own brokerage at that time.
Okay.
So I had a team, but it was just 2 people. So it was more of a partnership. You can have this weekend off, you get the next weekend off, and we would kind of cover for each other. It helped a lot. When I came back, I didn't have that, but I got my husband to come in and get his license immediately right when I came back.
That's the TLC.
That's the TLC.
We're talking Tim here.
Yes,
so
Tim and Lisa
shout
Carroll.
out to Tim and Lisa Carroll. Yes.
But so once Tim started joining me, and I came back with just a different mindset that I wasn't going to just be, I was going to be better. I could do more. I felt more confident the second time when I came back in.
Yep.
I was older. I was very young when I started. So, being a little bit older at that time, it just became overwhelming. And then I started going, okay, what do I do? And I did everything wrong. Everything I could do wrong, I did wrong. I brought a friend on first that was with my other brokerage, and she helped us, by giving her referrals.
Yeah.
Soon I realized that, I needed more people and I needed staff. And so kind of did things backwards and learned the hard way in some ways, but she's still with me.
That's how we
She's
all
a
learn
great,
those, by making mistakes, right?
If you don't make them, you can't go anywhere.
That's right.
That's for sure.
That's
I've made
right.
a lot of mistakes, and you learn
But
from
you must
those.
have been doing something right to be in the game as long as you've been. I mean, most agents don't make it, over decades like you have with any sort of consistent success. And so that tells you a lot about something has been done well, right? In the organization, no doubt about it. When you think back now, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of where you are now, and I know you're excited about having your sons involved in the business. We want to talk a little bit about that too, and how that's and where they're heading with the business. What do you think, though, were some of the keys to your success looking back at it now? Are there anything stand out to you?
For sure. I think mindset was a big thing for me. So when I came back in, I changed my mindset. I started exposing myself to people that were very successful in the business and going, well, what makes that person successful? Or why are they, doing this, and why can't I? If they can do it, I can do it. And
Love
just
that.
building the confidence in the fact that what's the difference between this person and me? There really is not a difference. It's just your mindset. So I think I changed my mindset. I also, really changed and got a more structured routine. Instead of what a lot of realtors do is kind of sit around and wait for things to happen. I started with a very structured routine.
Taking control of your calendar.
My calendar was huge. Time blocking, making sure I was doing all those things that you have to do. But then also I think just starting to delegate and bringing on the people to help really freed me up to do what I guess maybe I'm best at, which is kind of making it rain, leads.
Yeah.
And being able to focus on that a little bit more. And I think that's a big thing that is missing for a lot of individual agents, maybe where they kind of don't really have that structure, and then they can't always focus. I deal with it with my kid. My son that's in the business, he's learning, so I'm constantly reminding him, okay, this is your time, this is what you're doing, but this happened. Well, that can wait for a little bit until after you do this.
Yeah. There's difference between urgent and important, right?
Yeah. And not just reacting to everything. Because once you start reacting to everything, you never finish what you're supposed to be doing.
Yep. No, great stuff there. I jotted a couple notes down. Mindset, time blocking, leverage through delegation.
Yes.
You mentioned that. And then what that allows you to do is focus on your strengths. And I think most people who see a quantum leap in their business, it's because they're able to focus on their strengths and do more of that. For you, it seems like lead gen had a lot to do with that for you, because, that's a great way to be able to see a quantum leap in your business if you can just double the amount of leads that are coming in, right?
For sure, yeah.
And being able to enter. But there's always going to be time sucks that take you away from those most productive tasks. And then your ability to be disciplined and do both things and understand what needs to be done first is a habit, And that's
sure.
something it seems like you've done well. So what was your best year? What was the best year that comes to mind? Not necessarily numbers, but was there a year that comes to mind?
A couple of years ago, whatever year that was.
Okay, probably 21.
Yeah, probably
right after
21.
COVID, when everything blew up.
Yeah, 21 was huge. I mean, we did the most that year, and it was crazy, insane. But, we're not too far off from that.
Was the team also the biggest that year?
I think the team was probably the biggest that year, but if not the following year, we've basically reduced our team by more than half over the last 2 years, mainly within the last year. Yes. Yeah. It was just taking too much of my time to manage maybe the smaller producers, that were on the team. Sure. It was just taking a lot of my time, and there was newer agents, and I wasn't able, again, I was missing my opportunity to do what I do best, I guess. And I think giving the other agents that are producing a little bit more has just served us all well. And it's taken my stress level down a little bit.
Totally.
And I'm kind of not selling as much, so I can give more to them, and everyone's happy.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think sometimes less is more. Right?
Yeah, for me it has been.
Yeah, and I think that's the case as a business principle. Very much so. Really looking at your organization and figuring out where 80% of your volume's coming from, putting as much of your energy into those 20%, I should say.
Correct.
As that's the whole 80-20 principle that we always hear about, right?
For sure, we definitely had that going on. So I think it's shifted for me over, especially this year. I really made it just a point and not really seeking out new talent right now. Just kind of taking a deep breath and taking it all in and not being rushed. We're so pushed to build, but sometimes it's better just to nurture what you have and enjoy. And I'm kind of in that space right now.
Yeah, I love that. It makes a lot of sense. And I think people who do build teams kind of go through some of those emotions sometimes as to, do I really want to build it this big? Is that really my goal? For you personally, Lisa, do you get more fulfillment out of like everything revolving around the team side, supporting agents, the recruiting, interviewing, training, running your team meetings, like just everything that's revolving around how to support the team, or just doing real estate, right? Working with customers and helping them find their dream home and doing all that. What do you get more fulfillment out of?
At this point right now, I still love my customers. So don't get me wrong. There are certain customers that I'll always probably work with. But it's hard for me right now. I'm spread a little thin sometimes. So I find the customer might be served better by someone else being the one showing them the property, with me being available to consult as needed, or with any negotiations or tough spots or anything like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of my time is, I have staff members that I have to delegate to daily. They're pretty independent because they've been with me for 7 or 8 years now. So, I do have 2 full-time staff, and then I have...
Are they administrative staff?
Yes. I have one that's licensed, and she does, Denise, she's awesome. She does our listing and transaction coordination.
Okay.
And she does a little bit of staging. She's always there for the photo shoot, so the agents don't have to be there. So she takes a lot of the work away from the agents. And then I have Jenny, who is wonderful. She's my marketing, client care, and everything else, person. But yeah, so I tend to have to work a little more on the back end side of the business now than I ever have.
Okay.
So it's become more and more that's where my focus has shifted.
Yep.
But I don't want my clients to feel like I'm not there for them, because I'm involved in every transaction. I just may not be the face all the time that's always out there.
Yeah.
Like today, my son
have you found that that's been fulfilling for you though? Like
making
that shift?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've been doing it for 31 years.
Sure.
So, you've done it. It's time to just grow as a person kind of. And I think this is just where it's taken me. Like today, Garrett has to go on his first listing appointment by himself.
That's your son?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so because I couldn't be there because of the scheduling, and he got the lead.
Time to grow up.
He got the lead, and he would normally lean on me, and I would go, and it's hard for me to shut up when I'm there and just let him go. So I'm like, this is perfect. You're going, and he'll take my licensed assistant, who is, knows all the paperwork and all that. So if he has any issues with stumbling across, with, what's the question and what's the answer kind of thing, I won't be available.
Right.
So I'm,
time for the eagle to fly, huh?
That's what I said. That's the part of being a leader, that you just have to be able to let go and trust it. And just, say, you know what, if I said you don't get the listing, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be mad. You're going to learn from it. We all learn. If you get it, yay, but don't stress over it for me, because I'm not going to be upset with you.
And just so people understand, like, despite these ebbs and flows of the market and challenges, I mean, I think you said off camera that you guys are having one of your best years ever now. Like Lisa and the team are over 40, or I wrote down over 40 million already this year in 2024, over 90 units. So there's a lot of success there, right? And the team is making things happen. How many agents do you have right now?
There's 9 of us right now, counting me and Tim.
So 9 total with you guys.
With me and Tim, so 7 others.
Okay. And Tim's transitioned out a little bit though, right?
Yeah, so he's like not officially, we haven't announced yet, but Tim's retiring. He's put his many years in,
God bless.
And he's allowed to, so he's enjoying that, and he's just not as involved. He's not coaching some of the sales teams. He used to do a lot of coaching and role play and stuff like that, but he's not doing any of that.
So is that putting more on you? Are you involved on the coaching side more now?
You know what? Since we've narrowed the team down to our higher producers, we don't need as much of that we used to need. So, it's just all worked out kind of like things always do, I think. When you set your vision, you make your plan. 2025 was my year that I had said my youngest one will graduate in 2025, and he wants to be a realtor. And, I said by 2025, I hope to be more out of production. And I've slowly been reducing my production.
Okay.
Giving someone else the listing that maybe I go with them, but then they meet the client, and, I'm not as involved as I would be if it was just me.
Yep.
So it's interesting, because it's all just kind of worked out nicely so far.
Do you see a vision where your boys end up taking over the organization at some point? Is that something that they are excited about, or you've talked to them about?
They think they want to, but I don't know if they totally understand what that entails yet, and I know they're not ready. So I'm not ready to give up the reins or anything at this point. But over the next few years, we'll definitely see what their, true intentions are, because you don't really know till you're in it. Just like selling real estate, you don't really know what it is until you're doing it. It's kind of interesting. People think they know what it's going to be about, but I don't think it really is what most people think.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I guess the question revolves around, you have seen different markets now, ebb and flow in your experience in Tampa Bay. And there's been an interesting market even in the last 12 months, right?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, you got the
new
NAR
rules.
settlement and everything going on with all that. Has that impacted you guys at all in a positive way, negative way? I
haven't seen a major change yet, but it may just be too early, because first of all, it's slowed down a little bit. It's an election year. We see a 17 to 20% decrease typically in election years. We don't know what to expect this one, because it's been a weird market coming up to this election year. But as far as the new NAR, the rules and all the buyer broker agreements and all that. We haven't had any issues with it.
Just training people on it.
Just learning how to handle it. It's not something we were doing prior. I know a lot of different states and different places, they have done it for years.
Yep.
But I haven't seen it really change anything. But again, we're not real heavy, like we're not saturated with buyers right now, like where we're just crazy. Because our market's I think it's a little slower right now. It is,
Yep.
or at least that's what we're seeing. So they're able to take their time and they're not feeling rushed with the people that they're having to go through this process with.
Yeah. What type of advice would you give to somebody who looks at your organization, your success over multiple decades now, and, really admires the fact that you've been able to be as successful as you've been for as long as you've been, and it's been sustainable, right? Because I think you do see some people who have kind of a year or two where they might spike, or maybe a couple of years, but to do it over the course of time you have really speaks a lot to your discipline, your systems, your processes, and that's worked, right? If you had to kind of pinpoint a couple specific things that you think are important for longer lasting success in this industry, what would come to mind for you?
You can't do it all yourself. I really think a lot of people want to be the one and just do it all themselves. And I think that just gets you to a point where you feel like you never have time for anything. I felt that prior to the market crashing, like, my phone would ring and I would cringe because I would be like, oh my gosh. And it was just me, even though I had a partner, it was still all on me, all the administrative tasks, all those things. So if you can outsource some of those things you don't like doing, or you're not good at doing, or you don't do consistently, I think that is a big thing that helped me grow. I really think it's
you got to
necessary.
leverage people.
You have to leverage people, and you help them too.
Yeah.
Let them
gives
use
them opportunity.
their talents to help you, and you reward them with their pay, good pay. And, so it's a win-win for everyone.
And that's part of having a more fulfilling business, in my opinion, too, because then you can see people grow, right?
I love that part. So that's where my joy does come, is helping these agents. Like almost every agent on my team started much lower in their production, and they're having their best year ever, and they've had their other best year ever, maybe not last year, but the year before and the year before. And so I get to see them, some of them were up 200 and something % this year.
That's awesome.
On their numbers year to date.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, to me being able to give them my, experience and just motivation and mindset, a lot of it's mindset and changing the way you react to everything instead of reacting, using your time wisely. I really enjoy that part of kind of like coaching them.
Awesome. Some great nuggets there. I think there is an element of just what is your mindset when it comes to working with the organization, and how do you view them? Are they really value add people that you love building with, or are you hesitant to even give responsibility away, to other people? I think that's key. All right, a couple quick things on the personal side for people to get to know you a little bit before we let you go. I know Lisa's got a big lunch coming up here, so we got to make sure that she's there on time. What are some things that you just love to do for fun when you're not jamming in real estate?
So I'm an artist. I love to paint.
Nice.
I'm trying to focus a little bit more on that too, now that I have a little bit more time. Really for myself, I sold a few pieces of art back in the day, but really haven't been able to focus on it. It's hard to really let that artist flow go when you're always answering the phone and
do you have a studio at the house?
I do. Yeah,
Nice.
I do. So I really do a lot of that. I love nature. I love, exercising.
What type of art do you do? Is it nature?
Painting?
Art?
No, abstract.
Is it? Okay.
Very abstract. Yeah.
And Tim is also an artist, right?
Tim's an artist and a musician. So he does original music, and he also paints.
Is there a studio for a music studio
yes,
at the house
there is.
as well?
We have both.
You guys got a little bit going on there.
Yeah.
How about that? And what about your boys? Are they into activities outside of real estate at this point?
Yeah, they both love basketball and working out, but both of them are also a little bit artsy. The older one, a little bit more so than the younger one so far, but it's hard to say because he's still in high school. So Bryce, the younger one, is really into fashion and style, and he does a lot with vintage shopping and getting all the old designer kind of things.
Nice.
And that's how he spends his school budget to buy his clothes. It's all used clothing. It's interesting.
There you go.
He's really into that, but of course he's only 17. So, but the older one who'll be 21 soon, is really into playing piano, guitar. He sings.
There's a lot of artistry in your family.
Yeah. So it kind of runs in the, I can't sing or play anything. So it's not me.
At least you could paint, though.
I can paint, yeah.
You got that part of the brain working.
And we like to travel and stuff like that. So just kind of spending time with the family. We definitely do a lot as a family unit.
Makes sense. Couple rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite book or author, seminar maybe, that has made an impact on you at all personally or professionally?
The Miracle Morning, I love, by Hal.
Yeah, that's my boy, Hal Elrod.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I think we talked about that before. Yeah. But that really helped me change my mindset about the whole savers thing. And I still write savers down in my journal every morning, SAVERS, to make sure I'm doing all those things. And if you don't know what that is, get the book.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. So that definitely changed my view on how to structure my mornings, which are very important to me.
Yeah, it's a very practical way to actually have like a systematic approach to your morning routine.
Yes.
And it's a great recommendation. So shout out to my boy Hal. Making impacts all over the world. So good. God bless you. Do you have a favorite TV show or movie?
Oh, gosh. I like to watch all those really terrible reality shows.
You're a reality gal,
yes. Huh? I like the Murders Only in My Building right now, or Only Murders in My Building, I think it's called.
No idea.
That's a great one on Netflix with Selena Gomez.
Okay.
So that's what I'm into watching right now.
Check it out, people. Yeah. If you're into the reality scene,
that's not a reality one though. That's actual like.
That's the real story, the real gruesome stuff behind it.
It's got like some really great actors in it, so it's pretty funny. It's like a mystery.
Gotcha.
They do a podcast actually. It's about a podcast they do. You should check it out.
I should. Yeah. I would. All right. Our last question will be about what I call the legacy question. So the idea of when. And it's interesting in your situation because I know you already mentioned that in a couple of years you might be looking to transition right out of production and have a little bit of a legacy there within the group, within the team. But as you think about what you would want to be most remembered for years from now, and when you're sitting on that rocking chair, hopefully many years from now, what do you think would be most important to you, Lisa, in terms of your legacy and want to be most remembered for?
I really care about the people, and I think I want that to come through, whether it's the clients or the team. And, that can be a hard thing in real estate because sometimes you meet the general public and they don't understand that about you. But I really do care about them and their happiness. It doesn't have to be to my degree of success. It's whatever makes them happy, and that makes me happy. So that's one thing. But I think also that I was able to build this business is great. I really came from, my parents were farmers. They were always afraid they wouldn't have enough. I grew up that way. We didn't have enough. I was always, afraid that there wasn't enough, no money, not enough money.
Yeah.
And so just that I was able to just turn that around and hopefully impact my sons and their future families in a different way, because Tim's family was the same way. Never enough. They didn't have enough.
Yeah.
You can't possibly.
Are these families that went through like the Great Depression time, the 20s?
Yeah. Tim's dead. Mine was a little after, but I mean, they were at the end of it. But so they just were poor farmers up in Michigan, and the dirt roads, dirt roads up there. So just being able to change the trajectory of hopefully the future of our family to being that you can do that.
Totally.
You can do anything you want.
Yeah, I love that. It's the whole scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset, right?
Yeah.
And you've talked a lot about mindset on this show. A couple different times you've mentioned it.
It's my favorite topic.
Yeah, and I can see it. I can see why. And I mean, it's obviously made a huge impact in how you've been able to maintain long-lasting and consistent success. So congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on the show. And I want to make sure you make your lunch. So we're going to get you out of here. But let me end with a challenge that we always do to the audience. And before I do that, if there's anyone who does want to pick your brain a little bit more, just to kind of ask you questions about your career, your business, the things you've learned along the way, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Sure. You guys can reach me at 813-205-7337 or email me at lisa@tampateamtlc.com.
Awesome. We'll put that on the description too, so that people can check it out if need be. But we always end with a challenge to the audience. So if you're somebody watching through the live streams on Facebook or on YouTube, if you haven't already subscribed, by the way, to our podcast, just click a button below. That way it says subscribe. That way you'll be notified every time we have an interview like we just did with Lisa, and you'll be noted who those are. We drop a new episode every Friday. So you can follow us there. You can also, of course, follow us at topproducersnation.com. But what is one action step that you can take from this today that's going to help propel you forward personally or professionally from this conversation? So that way the time you invested in listening to this will be worth it. Maybe it's as simple as the Miracle Morning recommendation book that Lisa threw out. That would be a great way to revolutionize your mornings, right? Maybe you really got to think a little deeper about how you're viewing your organization and the scalability of it and the people involved in it, like Lisa talked about. She shared tips on mindset, on time blocking, on delegation, the ability to focus on your strengths. Where is it for you that you have an area of opportunity that you can make a change that's going to help propel you forward And if you do that, even if it's just one thing, then this time is going to be worth it that you invested. So take that time. We will see you, of course, on the next episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. We'll see you later. Bye.